how's it going? I'm Laser Dude. Welcome to another installment of ranking every single Harry Potter film. Today we finally move on to Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban. This was an interesting watch for me, because if you recall in my last video, I was over the moon about the practical effects. I was like, there's so much good practical effects, I missed this sort of thing. I wonder how long it's going to take before we get into completely all janky CGI, and it did not take long, did it? Not to say that everything in this movie looks absolutely horrible or anything like that, especially, like, compare this leagues better than some of the effects that they had in the first Harry Potter film. But it was like, this is the first movie that they changed directors, and there was definitely some tonal shifts that you could definitely see in that, I looked up the director, and it was actually quite surprising to me, because this guy has gone on to direct some really big movies, artistic big movies, not just blockbuster Hollywood big movies. I'm talking about, like, he directed Gravity, he directed, what was it, The Revenant? I'm not entirely sure with his IMDb page, but he was like, so it was like a little bit like not what I was expecting for a director of his caliber in some of the stuff in this. I don't need to go over the story or anything, because these are ranked videos. You're curious to see where I put this movie in the ranking instead of oh, what's the story about? So let's just talk about some of the good things about it, because I've already pointed out some of the bad things that annoyed me. The good things, I like a lot of the casting in this. I mean, Gary Oldman as Sirius Black is really, really good. I also like the guy who does Lupin a lot, just because he was like one of my favorite characters, side characters from the book, because he actually got to teach Harry stuff, and we actually got to see him in depth, excel at some of the magic that he was good at. He was like the first character that taught Harry something that he was actually good at, not just he's kind of like on the same level as everybody else, but this was something like, oh, you're a natural, you're good at this, other than, of course, Quidditch, of course. So yeah, the casting I really, really liked. Just like before, the human world parts with, his aunt and uncle, it's really rushed, but here it's the worst it's been out of all of them. Because with his, his Aunt Marge scene, this in the book, and I'm not one that has been saying a lot, in the books, it's better in the books, books have more time to do stuff, and so obviously something like this are going to handle better. But it's one of those things where it's in the books, Harry was, having to deal with so much garbage from his half-aunt Marilyn. I guess it is his real aunt, because it's from... No, it's from the father's side. Anyway, not the point. Anyway, in the book, he's, dealing with so much crap. She's saying so much terrible things, and building and building and building, and finally, he just can't take it anymore, and he lets loose his magic on her, and then she blows up, and I didn't think she flew away literally. She's flying into the stratosphere, and Harry's like, good, I don't care. And I'm like, dude, murder? You're gonna murder her? She said some bad stuff, but that doesn't justify a murder. He didn't know the Ministry of Magic was gonna help save her. That is just outrageous. He didn't know how far his spell affected. He could have launched her into space. I mean, gosh, that was weird. I don't recall him, but that could just be me. Maybe she also flew off in the book as well. But the scene is just so rushed, and it's kind of weird in that way, how rushed it is. And then we get to the night bus, which look, I get that people like those sort of things, that sort of kooky fun thing, but I don't actually think the night bus was necessary. Also, the magic inside the bus, he shouldn't be affected, I always get, he's and I was nobody would buy this thing if that was the case. It should be inside, the magic is unaffected by the speeds on the outside. That was just my thoughts. But, yeah, there's just a lot of, exposition in this movie that wasn't in the last film. I think the last film, despite, the third book I prefer over the second book, But I think the second book is much more suited to a movie. The mystery and the way everything is set up doesn't require as much explaining. And there's a lot of scenes in here where just people are talking about stuff and Harry's just listening, you know? And that's fine, but I will say that those sort of things hold it back a little bit for me. Also... Well, you might have noticed I'm just wearing a hoodie this time. Well, this is in honor of the wardrobe, because why is everybody wearing like modern garments in this movie? I mean, not everyone. Like Harry and Hermione are, which, to be fair, it kind of makes sense why if anyone was to wear anything, it would be them, because, you know, Hermione's parents are Muggles and Harry basically spent all of his time in the Muggle world. So, you know, if anyone was to be wearing it, but it's so weird. Like, it's so jaw-dropping. Like, before they were in uniforms all the time, and then here they're mostly in hoodies and t-shirts, and I'm just like, this feels weird to me for some reason. It just feels like it's sapped a little bit of the magic out. My wife is really annoyed with me when I was complaining, saying a lot of these nitpicks and complaints about it. But I will say the movie does pick up a little bit in the last act. Because actually, my wife was getting tired, so we had to pause. And so we paused after the events of the night happened the first time, before we go back into them. And I was kind of a little down on the film, but I actually did enjoy the time travel. And I didn't actually think I would. I thought it'd be a lot of retread. But I did like the way it unfolded and everything. The one thing that I think is a little bit of a cheat is like the executioner raising his, you know, axe and cutting a pumpkin instead. Like, that seems a little random and out of nowhere. Where in the book, it sounded more like they heard the axe hit the ground, and less than they actually saw anything. And so, like, the sound of the axe hitting the ground was him dropping it in disbelief, which I think was much more believable. But once again, I'm not an expert on the books. I've only read them once. But let's get into the rankings. So I think for me, if you've been able to, I'm gonna keep Chamber of Secrets as number 1. I feel like the book itself is more suited to a movie format, where this one, I feel like it dragged a little bit for me. Also, just a quick note, I feel like there were some inconsistencies in this one. Like, all of a sudden, the Whomping Willow tree is at a completely different area than it was last time. Like, unless there's a line in the book where they transplanted and moved it and they're staying true to it, I'm like, did you not watch the movie? Could you not have shown where it actually was? Come on, guys. But yeah, so I'm going to be putting Chamber of Secrets, Prisoner of Azkaban, and The Philosopher's Stone in that order. I'm interested to see what other people's opinions are on this, because my wife, who really likes, I think this book is her favorite of the books. I'm not sure where she stands on the movie. She's not being upcoming with that right now, which that's totally fine. I don't want my view tainted on that sort of thing. It's interesting I want to see if other people feel the same way. If it's one of their favorite books, does it result as one of their favorite movies of the franchise? Because I don't know when it comes to when I did X-Men, I knew where the cultural standing was on almost every film, and my beliefs weren't too dissimilar. I think there was a couple of movies that maybe I felt harder on than the public would, but this one, I have no idea what anyone's notions are, so it'll be interesting to see. Anyway, moving on. Best scene in the movie, I'm going to say, is the Patronus scene, where both times we see it, both in the flashback and in the thing, just because the score, the intensity of it, and I will say, even though I wish that there was a little bit more of practical effects to the Dementors, you know, they still looked very creepy, and they still did it. The blurry face thing was a little wonky to me, but you know, I don't know what else they could have really done to show like they're sucking fear out of you. But who knows? I mean, Dementors, this isn't the last time we'll see them. Maybe they'll improve that design, and maybe they'll like that more. But I still do think the Patronus scene is the best. Like, animated, the scene is like really beautiful, and you know, with the stag and whatnot. Although I don't think anyone tells him in this that it's, you know, a stag, because his father turned into a stag, and he was an animagus. But they probably just didn't have the time. I complain about them over-explaining stuff and then expect them to explain everything. Worst scene, I'm going to put the scene where we first get revealed that Sirius Black wasn't the bad guy. And I got spoiled on that before I even read the book, so maybe this scene just doesn't hit with me. But it seems like it's more like, run! Sirius Black, drop your wand! And then Lupin comes in, no, you drop your wand, Harry! And it's like, you're Sirius Black? Yes, we are, but we're coming after him. And it's like, you, Ron? No, him. And like, oh, you're right, it's actually the bad guy. Wait, what? Then Snape comes in like, aha, no, you drop your wand. And it's a little bit, it's just so rushed and muddled and everything. And then Harry turns on Snape with absolute, I think it was only one line of them saying, he didn't kill your father. Like, Peter Pettigrew hadn't even grown yet. And I feel like, I don't know, I can't remember the book so well enough to quote if that happened that way. But it did feel, it just felt really wonky to me. Like, you drop your wand, no, you drop your wand, no, you drop your wand. Like, and like the Expelliarmus chart actually seemed really wimpy. Like, it was just like, flip, it didn't seem all that powerful in that moment. For my favorite performance, I was torn between Lupin and Sirius Black. I will say that Daniel Radcliffe as an actor has grown a lot in this. I like his performance. Like, I felt like Rupert Everett and Emma Watson, not Emma Stone, I'm making that mistake again, but I feel like both of them kind of got their characters from the get-go, and not that Daniel Radcliffe was terrible as Harry Potter, I just felt like it was a lot in his like body posture, where it's like there'd be a scene where he was in danger and his shoulders would be slumped back. His facial expressions were great, but his body posture just wasn't getting there. I don't feel that in this movie. I feel like he's come up as a character. I feel like the problem is like his character's written in a way that he just goes in such emotional swings, out of nowhere. Like him turning Aunt Marge, blowing her up and sending her into flippin' orbit, that comes a little out of nowhere. This kid has been taking it on the chin for so many years. I mean, I guess you could say now that he has power, he doesn't want to anymore, but it feels like not as earned as it was in the book. And then, like, he hears that Sirius Black is the reason why his parents are dead. He's like, I'm gonna kill him! Like, why would he jump straight to that right away? I mean, that one I don't feel too bad about because, he's a kid. He might say that because he's still feeling emotional about what happened to his parents and everything. But yeah, Daniel Radcliffe has definitely improved in a lot of ways. I really enjoy his performance in this. I think, though, I'm gonna give it to Gary Oldman just because the way, almost patheticness in his tone where he's, begging Lupin, let me kill him. He's stolen so many years of my life. I guess I kind of thought of Black in that moment of more enraged and I'm going to take everything that you took from me. But Gary Oldman adds this layer of pain to that where he's just hurting so bad and is so angry and is filled with so much dread and has gone through so much over it, that scene, the way he is begging and it's almost slightly pathetic, but that's what makes it more impactful. This guy who you thought would, and I like kind of the way it's set up. You think though the one who betrayed his parents is going to be this big bad arse, dark wizard that wants to kill you, Harry. And no, it's this pathetic little rat who has no discernible skill, is just hiding as Scabbers this entire time. That's always, although I will say, Scabbers, being the Peter Pettigrew, that's always something I thought was written afterwards. That's always something oh, I could do this. I'm bringing Animagus in. I could do this. It didn't actually feel like that's what the intent was the entire time. Now, as for the most magical part, I'm definitely going to say the time travel shenanigans. I did like how it was handled, and I kind of like how the characters acted, when they were going through it, they didn't when we weren't leaving, we threw a rock in there. Because I like it because, since time travel in this world is, anything that happens always happened, they're still, not entirely sure. I feel like them going through this, they're still, in some ways, still reacting to it like it's the first time it's happened to them, you know? Like, maybe they did get caught the first time they went through here or something like that. And then, you know, they're just reacting to it, but they have a vague memory of it and stuff. I did like the time travel shenanigans, I will say. I think that was actually really good. However, we all know that the time turners are a mistake to introduce into this world. You know, it's like there was so many things that could be fixed with these, and it's just like you're giving one of the most powerful items in all of wizard kind to a little girl so she can get to all of her studies. Like, come on, where are your priorities? Come on. But, I mean, it's one of those things where it's just a fun fantasy sort of thing. So I'm not going to beat up on it too much. Okay, so let's put all these in the order. I'm going to put, for best scene in the movie, I'm going to put the Patronus scene at the second. I still think the practicalness and the spiders scene made that seem really creepy. And you know what? When the Ron had that Bogart spider scare, I was hoping it was going to be the same spider, and then they brought in a CGI spider. I was like, this is what I was worried that was going to be in the last film. But in any case, yeah, so, but I'm putting spider scene, Patronus wizard chest for best scene. For worst scene, even though I think the dropping your wand sort of thing is like, aha, is a little kind of badly paced and a little lame, I don't think it's as bad as the other scenes that we've seen in other movies, so I'm going to put that at number 3. For favorite performance, I'm going to put Sirius Black at number 2, because I feel like he's not in the movie enough for him to pass what Emma Watson was doing in the first film. I feel like her performance, since she was a more major character, I think it stands out a little bit more overall, but I'm going to put him at number 2 over Moni Myrtle, who was just a fun character, but, you know, nothing too special. For the most magical part, I'm going to put the time travel shenanigans. Even though I did like it, I'm going to put it at number 3. I just think the score of the film, of the first film, I think that's going to go a lot longer in this series and have a more lasting effect. And I still like the practical effects. It's been my favorite part of this this first time watching of the series so far. And yeah, that's my thoughts on The Prisoner of Azkaban. This is going to be interesting because going into the next film this is my favorite book of the series, so it'll be interesting to see how they do it. And I'm a little worried because, like, while I think the basic setup of the Goblet of Fire itself is going to be a good setup to give, you know, like it'll be like a games, and then you turns. I think that'll be good, nice and easy to adapt into a movie. There's a lot of stuff that happens beforehand with like the Wizarding World Cup and stuff like that, and a lot of stuff that they'll probably have to skip over. Like, I don't even know if we'll have any time for the Dursleys at all. We'll have to wait and see. In any case, that's my ranks so far, and looking forward to seeing the next one. Okay, bye.
Be sure to check out some of these other videos on my channel. And wait for more coming soon.